Hello, Skull here. Welcome to the 12th episode of the Abomination Vault's campaign diary. After our heroes spent the majority of last session fostering an uneasy alliance with Grolgust and the Morlocks, I expected this session to be a continuation of that story. Instead, this session was the closest we've come to a TPK. Literally just one roll away. We play one session every 2 weeks, and I think that long gap in time has some adverse effects on how much people remember about what was happening when we left off. A lot can happen in a person's real life in 2 weeks, and as much as I would enjoy being at the forefront of everyone's minds, I know they likely aren't thinking about the game until the next session. What this results in is an unexpected shift in motivation or plans when we pick the game back up. You'll see this session how, even though our heroes willingly entered these resting rooms, as we pick things back up, they now have a totally different attitude towards their situation. But let's jump into it. With May, Milo, Ornifex, and Rock in one of the makeshift cells, and Sesto and Boss Scrawng in the other, we picked things up as the desperate Mitflit leader begged for answers.
Oh, why weren't you here? You said you'd help me from this place.
I'm going to sit down and eat a ration.
He looks greedily at your food.
I'll offer him one. I'll be nice.
Thank you. They haven't fed me in days. Did they capture you too?
I think so, but I'm not sure. Apparently this is a place for us to sleep. Seemed in good faith when we left. However, now I'm going to assume the door's locked. Push against it.
Yeah, it seems to be locked.
Yeah. Now I'm not so sure.
Well, at least you seem to be unharmed.
Boss Scrawng pitifully complained about his situation and begged Sesto to provide him with a potion, which Sesto refused. Sesto summoned Tiny into the cell as Boss Scrawng questioned how Sesto was going to get them out. Sesto explained that the rest of our heroes were in a similar situation and that they would likely be the ones to get them out.
I've got a feeling that my 4 companions are in a similar situation to us, albeit far more cramped. There's a point to the wall.
Are they going to save us?
I'm just going to take some time to think about what we can do about this.
Oh. When the group had entered these rooms, they had done so willingly under the agreement that they'd use these rooms for rest, so I was a little confused that they now seemed to view this situation as captivity. Yes, Grolgust had locked them in, however, he had left them with all their equipment as a sign of trust. I didn't have any plans in place to pull a fast one here. I was going to let them rest for about 10 hours or so and then release them down to the library level. However, the party apparently distrusted Grolgust more than he distrusted them, and they immediately began looking for a way out, without using any of the time to actually take a rest. Honestly, the only real advice I can give here is to ensure that you do a proper recap at the start of every session. Ideally, you'll have your players do the recap so that you can gain an understanding of how they perceived the events, as they might have a different perception to you. If they did remember things differently than you can either clarify before the session if it's an important misunderstanding, or you can shift your plans to account for the player's new attitude towards them. Sesto, being a chameleon gnome, shifted his skin tone to match that of the grey walls. He checked the door for a lock, but found that due to these rooms being not intended as cells, they had no lock or keyhole. Whatever was keeping the door locked was on the other side of the door. He handed Boss Scrawng a torch, which he apprehensively took because he didn't actually need that to see. Boss Scrawng was very eager to escape and egged Sesto on, giving him suggestions of how they could get out.
Oh, I have no way of getting out of this bloody room because I'm a little weakling.
Maybe your hound could knock it down. Smash through the door. Free us. We could run to the swamp together.
I listen to the door, see if I can hear anything out of it.
Make a secret perception check. Sesto listened at the door and could hear the sounds of dragging and shuffling. Placed here partially as a guard and partially as cleanup, a single Morlock was in the process of clearing out the dead Morlocks from the previous battles. Unsure as to the scale of the threat, he had Tiny sniff beyond the door using his scent evolution surge. Tiny was a little more successful and could tell that there was only one living Morlock beyond. With this information, Sesto correctly guessed that the Morlocks were clearing up the bodies. With no clear route of escape, he began knocking on the southern wall and refocusing. Transitioning to the other side of the wall, the other four of our heroes were making plans of their own.
Oh, I've always been the jailer, never the jailee.
Really? Never?
This never.
Oh.
This sucks. Yeah, I can't even move. I don't want to step anywhere because I don't want to step on May's tail. I don't want to ruffle Ornifex's feathers. I want to step on Milo. This sucks. We gotta get out of here.
Hmm. Yeah. It would be good. Let me listen at the door.
Milo listened at the door using a brass ear and heard the same sounds that Sesto had. They began to discuss the situation in hushed voices.
But yeah, definitely guys out there shuffling about, probably moving bodies. I say we wait until there's no sounds out there. Then you can get us out of here, right? I will look at the door and hope it has a lock. Yikers.
Not to be the bearer of bad news or the spanner in the works, but say we do get out, what do you suggest then? Massacre them all? I'm pretty sure.
Of course.
I feel like maybe we could use their alliance to an advantage, right? At least for a start.
Well, I'm going north. There's a door I want to check out.
I just mean it would be nice to be able to move around this floor or this area without walking into any problems, I guess.
Wouldn't killing them all also result in that?
Yeah, but that's also a bit rash. I'm
I don't know.
funny.
I think
Kind of torn here because I'm with May. We don't want to be looking over our shoulder every 5 seconds that another like worm thing is gonna drop from a ceiling and suck our blood out. But this asshole locked us in a fucking box. So yeah.
I mean, see it from his point of view. There's 5 strangers who all look, well, strange, who've just killed something they couldn't kill. Wouldn't you want to put us somewhere safe? I'm going to do, like, air quotes. I mean, this isn't pleasant, this isn't nice, but when we asked for help, he's given us somewhere to rest. By his standards, this would probably be a nice room, and he's just trying to keep us secure. I'm not saying that he's a good guy in any way, but we could use him to our advantage for now.
How do you plan to do that, though? Every time we ask for something, he will just keep us here and not really let us do our own thing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's keeping us here because we asked to rest and he has a job for us to do. And I think that job will involve, like he said, going down to the next floor, but I don't think it would be impossible to convince him to let us explore this area a bit more.
We couldn't even convince him to let us go upstairs.
No. He doesn't
threatens
really
us.
look at us as individuals or people. We're like pawns or slaves.
This conversation went on for a long time, with plenty of back and forth. Milo and Ornifex were on the side of killing Grawlgust, while May wanted to accept this as a place of rest and keep that alliance, and Rock wanted to break out of the room but try and stay on the Morlock's good side. They, of course, noticed that the door was not locked from this side, so if they did want to break out, they knew it would have to be loud. No plan could be agreed upon at this moment, so they turned their attention to finding Sesto. They could hear the knocking through the wall and began to assess that this was likely Sesto. More plans were discussed, such as waiting for the Morlocks to go to sleep. However, they weren't sure if the Morlocks followed a similar sleep schedule to surface dwellers, so they ruled that out. Eventually, they came to the begrudging agreement to kill Grolgust at the next opportunity they had. May and Rock weren't particularly happy about this, as they felt they had more information that they could get from him. However, I think they just wanted to have a plan of action at this point.
Well, I don't think we're getting out anytime soon by ourselves. So yeah, what about we rest up a bit next time he lets us out and wait for a chance to strike? Since you seem very adamant in fighting through this.
I mean, he's not nice. They're not good. They're bad.
I mean, I'm not saying they're nice and he's become friends and braid each other's hair, but it'd be good to use him in some way.
I don't know. I feel like we'll be the ones who are getting used.
But if we know we're being used and we use him, are we the ones using him? Using us? Using him?
I see where you're going with this, but I don't know. I guess. It just feels weird to make pacts with evil creatures.
It's not a pact if we lie.
Sometimes you got to do bad deeds to do some good.
Ah, so eloquent, see?
I mean, in the stories, they always just kill the bad guys.
Milo, nothing is ever like the stories. This past, month now? I thought you would have figured that out.
As we hit the 30-minute mark, I could tell that the group was beginning to get frustrated at the situation and the lack of clear direction. Clearly, they didn't feel safe resting here, but they also saw no way out. I decided to interrupt them as they chatted with a disturbance on the other side of the door. When they were being given the tour by Grolgust, I neglected to tell them about the fresh corpse in the shrine room. I decided that this would be a good opportunity to add that detail in real time. Through the door, our heroes heard the sound of someone being dragged roughly. Whoever it was screaming in common for mercy and help. After a while, these shouts were cut short by a gargled scream. Rock was particularly eager to intervene, and the group immediately set to work breaking free. May took the crowbar and used the force open action. She cracked open the lock from the other side, and the group piled out. This combat escalated pretty badly. While I think the heroes performed very well in the opening rounds, this fight ended up being the closest we've come to a TPK, as if they'd rolled poorly in the final moments, they could have all died at the exact same time. As our heroes piled out of the room, Rock coated his rapier in the mysterious Yum poison, and May rushed to Sesto's door, and with a successful force open check, broke him out too. Sesto had used the delay action until he had been freed, upon which he also moved into the servants' quarters. Grolgust was in the process of leaving the shrine room with two of his soldiers. The two forces met in the servants' quarters, but Grolgust was unsure what was happening. He didn't become immediately hostile, instead asking what they were doing. He walks out into the room with a look of surprise and shock.
What are you all doing?
His soldiers moved into a defensive position around their king and readied strikes against anybody who approached. This gave our heroes time to set up as the Morlocks wasted actions, unsure whether or not to engage. I had a feeling that this fight might be quite difficult, so I wanted to give our heroes a few extra actions in these opening rounds. I did this by essentially wasting actions with the Morlocks until the heroes made the first move, which they did soon after. Milo rushed towards one of the Morlock guards. It swung for him with its readied club, but the attack went wide, allowing Milo to feint and stab the creature. Now that first blood had been drawn, the fight fully kicked off. Tiny rushed one of the Morlocks and was clubbed for his troubles. This didn't prevent Tiny from ripping into the Morlock in retaliation, though. Our heroes fully engaged, focusing their attentions on the Morlock guards to begin with. Grolgust was now very aware that the group had for some reason turned against him, so began to layer himself with protections. He cast both Mirror Image and Shield on himself, hoping to protect himself until his minions had dealt with the unruly surface dwellers. The adventure advises in the initial meeting with him that Grolgust won't get directly involved until his minions are dead or the heroes attack him directly. I think this was intended as a show of confidence, and at this point we're kind of past that, so that's why Grolgust engaged with everybody else. He knows how dangerous the heroes are and can't really afford to waste time dealing with them. Boss Skronk tried to flee, however May was blocking the door. I asked her if she considered him an ally, to which she said no. As such, the Mitflit wasted his turn trying and failing to shove May. I had no plans to use Boss Skronk as an actual combatant in this fight. I'd removed all his equipment, given him the weak template, and left him on 1 hit point, so his entire role in this battle was to cause a nuisance until he could flee. The Morlock guards began trying to fight off the party. They swung for Rock and Milo, who were both frontlining, though they came away relatively unharmed. May approached the rest of the combatants and accidentally formed a wall with her companions. This meant that Boss Skronk could now leave his cell, but still wasn't able to fully the battle. She gave Milo a forbidding ward against the Morlock next to him as he used his wand of magic missile to blast the Morlock, using 2 actions to fire 2 darts and killing it. Grolgust screamed in rage at the group's betrayal.
Is that-
Belcora can suck my... And then I'm
Oh.
gonna stab this other one.
When you say the word Belcora, you see his face go like white.
Never speak her name!
As the group continued to assault the Morlock guards, Sesto put their revelation about the Ghost Queen to work and used it to demoralize Grolgust.
Sort of look towards Gralcust, didn't get his attention. Look him in the eyes and just mouth the word Belcora as I attempt to demoralize him.
Okay. That is a success. He becomes frightened as he begins to look around in almost like... He begins to almost look as though like she's about to come out of the fucking walls or something. He's like manically glancing around. With most of the group handling the regular Morlock, Tiny charged Grolgust. His protections worked as the attack claimed one of his mirror images instead of harming him directly. Rock managed to bypass the mirror image and struck him directly. This pumped the Blackadder venom into Grolgust and caused poison to pulse throughout his body. Rock then tried to grapple him, but a critical failure left him prone for his troubles. Ornifex and the others continued to whittle down the other Morlock, leaving it badly injured by the time that the Morlocks could act. Seeing how the fight was going for our heroes, I decided to bring the Grothlet into the mix. This was both to add some extra weight into this impromptu boss battle, but also because our heroes were eager to level up and develop their builds. By adding the Grothlet, the XP reward would get them really close to leveling up. I just wasn't expecting this creature to be the deadliest foe of the encounter. Grolgust let out a scream, summoning the Grothlet. He then blasted Tiny, May, and Sesto with grim tendrils, damaging them and leaving May bleeding. Finally, he recast Shield as he was beginning to get surrounded. Boss Skronk saw a way out, and after Milo confirmed that he did view him as an ally, he fled away from the battle, after which I removed him from initiative. The brawl between the heroes and the Morlock guard continued on, eventually ending in its death at the hands of May. She also used an action to heal from the persistent damage. The group surrounded Grolgust and smashed away his remaining illusions. During this final scuffle, the Grothlet showed up and joined initiative. Its mournful wail echoed throughout the room, and one by one, as each hero took their turn, all but Ornifex became sickened. This resulted in a lot of the upcoming actions being sunk into retching. This became particularly problematic when they realized that being sickened meant they couldn't drink any potions. Initially, nobody wanted anything to do with this creature, so they all swarmed around Grolgust and continued to overwhelm him with their sheer numbers. Grolgust doesn't have many options when it comes to area of effects, which meant that he was in a very bad position here. He continued to keep up his shield each round, but otherwise fired off whatever spells he could, most either missing or failing to do anything substantial. The Grothlet unleashed a digestive spew that, thanks to the splash damage, managed to force the party into spreading out. This was the first enemy that they've encountered with splash damage, and it certainly gave them something to think about. Positioning became really important as they tried to avoid giving it too many targets it could include in the splash damage. Grolgust became increasingly panicked as he realized his situation. In the following moments, Rock finally put the king of the Ghost Queen Morlocks to rest.
Though, as Tiny and I are tag teaming him, with Tiny having him held down with the bite, I'm just gonna grab him by the back of the neck. He shouldn't have locked me in a fucking box. And just run him through.
Alright, he screams in your face as loud as he can as the life leaves his eyes, and slowly it turns to just a grim whimper as you let it slide off your rapier, collapsing into the ground. The fight wasn't over yet, though. Far from it. As the party turned their attention to the Grothlet, they also noticed the fresh corpse lying in the shrine room. After confirming that they were beyond saving, Ornifex began to assault the aberration. Our heroes knew that they were going to need healing if the fight continued much longer, and since Ornifex had used all her heal spells, potions were the only choice. Valuable actions were spent on removing Sickened instead of dealing damage. Some attacks were made which slowly chipped away at the Grothlot's health, but not enough. The Grothlot continued to lay down some highly effective digestive spew attacks that allowed splash damage to spread throughout them, until eventually a critical claw strike dropped Sesto to dying too. The party went into damage control. They knew that they needed to get Sesto out of there, but the potential splash damage could increase his dying condition if they stayed adjacent to him. Ornifex cast Spirit Link to get Sesto back up, slowly transferring her health into him. May rushed to the prone Sesto and used Reposition to slide him out of the Grothlot's reach. As our group felt it was important to be able to help each other via forced movement actions, we've house ruled this slightly. As per the rules, you still need to make a successful check to use Shove or Reposition on an ally. However, I've decided that if the creature is willing, you get a +5 to the roll. This means they are far more likely to succeed when the target actually wants you to succeed. A critical success let her swing him all the way around her, keeping him within Spirit Link range, but out of the Grothlot's reach. Milo and Rock continued to chip away at the creature's health, while Sesto got rid of his Sickened and chugged a potion. Just as soon as Sesto was up, May went down after a nasty claw attack. Rock had no way of helping May directly, so he continued to cut through the Grothlot's help, desperately trying to end the fight. Milo rushed to May and fed her a potion, getting her back to consciousness. The group continued to beat away on the Grothlot with magic and weapons, chipping away at its health. Meanwhile, May got some distance from the creature, not that that would actually help though. As May got helped up, Ornifex went down from a digestive mucus attack. Eventually, with all our heroes on dangerously low health, Rock and Milo cut it down. This celebration didn't last long, however, as the creature immediately exploded in acidic gore. With everybody in range, all of our heroes had to make fortitude saving throws. Initially, only May and Milo succeeded, meaning Sesto, Rock, and Ornifex were about to go down. Ornifex managed to use a hero point to succeed, which saved her from her dying condition increasing. Sesto and Rock collapsed to the ground, dying, but the fight was won. May and Milo rushed their allies, and I think we might have goofed here. In the exhilaration of winning the fight, I didn't clock that Sickened meant you couldn't drink potions, so when May and Milo fed them all potions to wake them back up, that might not have been possible. It's too late to retcon now. However, after giving it a think, there were ways they could have saved them without relying on rolls. Sesto still had 1 hero point, so he could have gotten himself up using our modified hero point rules, and then he could have cast Stabilize on Rock. You could also argue that the Sickened condition specifies you can't willingly ingest anything, but if you're unconscious, then is it willing? Either way, the battle was won, and thanks to some lucky rolls at the end there, a potential TPK was avoided. With our remaining conscious heroes on such low health, if they had failed those final saving throws, we could very easily have lost one or several heroes as they all fell to the mercy of recovery checks. The party took some time to recover from Sickened, and Ornifex went through treating everybody's wounds. Milo made a successful recall knowledge to learn what a Grothlot is, which of course was sad and disturbing. Rock and Ornifex went to check out the corpse. They identified it as an Osprey Club member and looted the shrine for good measure, gaining a Bloodstone, a Fear Gem, and a Potency Rune. While it's apparent that this large room used to originally be a kitchen, the furnishings have been rebuilt and repositioned to create an improvised shrine. The western end of the hall, where a large fireplace for cooking once stood, now serves as an altar of sorts. Looming over a human corpse is a towering statue in a feminine shape, made of bones, covered in sheets of mouldering cloth and hanging moss. A bare spot on the room's north wall has been decorated with mud and blood to depict the same feminine form as the statue. In a mixture of wanting to save the remaining Osprey members and wanting to get that last bit of XP to push them up to level 3, Rock and Milo hurried to the workshop. They used the Avoid Notice exploration action to get the drop on the 2 Morlocks in this room. Milo dismissed the light spell and Rock took his Dark Vision elixir. I had removed one of the Morlock engineers as I wanted them to be attacked while escorting the thieves out. The players never picked up on the missing Morlock though. We moved into initiative as the duo moved into position and struck out against the unsuspecting Morlocks. The rest of the party had kept back, but as neither Morlock was successfully killed, they joined the initiative and rushed in to help. This fight was very quick and insubstantial, so I won't go through all the details. Just know that our heroes were quick, efficient, and made good tactical use of their actions to have them both killed within 2 rounds. As the 2 Morlocks dropped to the ground, dead, our heroes finally had enough experience to reach level 3. So we stopped here and I let them level up. I wasn't expecting the Grolgust boss fight this session, but I understand why it happened after the nudge that I gave them. All things considered, I think they handled the combat very well. The battle against Grolgust himself went rather smoothly. It was the Grothlud that gave them significant trouble. With much of the Morlock forces handled, I foresee the next session being quite rock-focused. I've reworked the adventure slightly to include Rock's backstory, and a major part of that is bringing the Osprey Club into the forefront a bit. One of the captured Osprey Club members has some history with Rock, a history that might lead to some interesting revelations about his past. Thank you for watching. If you're enjoying this series, then please like and subscribe, as all your support really helps the channel grow. And if you like this series, then please look forward to a new series of campaign diaries that will be releasing in the upcoming months. That's all for today. Thank you, and goodbye.